Welcome to the capital city of Vietnam. This is Hanoi, a pretty little city with over 5.5 million residents, known for its centuries-old architecture, which include many influences like Southeast Asian and French. Today, in the 21st century, Hanoi is known as the cultural, economic, and education center of northern Vietnam. So come along with us as we explore the Old Quarter and its very narrow streets. Enjoy a cozy bevy as we almost get hit by a train on Train Street, enjoying the vibrant nightlife of Bear Street, and learn about its dark history and culture that makes up the beautiful city of Hanoi. And good morning, Vietnam! We are live here in Hanoi, up in the north of Vietnam, and it's quite a unique place to wake up. We're staying at Hanoi Nostalgia Hotel, which is just down the road from Bear Street, which we will be going to check out later. But for right now, just sit back, grab a coffee, and come along for the ride. Right, so we've just got ourselves a rickshaw with Quinn over here. We're going to be doing a sightseeing tour of Hanoi. Come along for the ride. Hope you enjoy this, because we don't know what to expect. Looks like we're going to a couple of museums, doing a couple of sightseeing tours, and it's very busy. Woo! So this rickshaw tour that we're doing right now was booked through our hotel and was charged back to our room. The seats were quite small. It was actually really uncomfortable. I wouldn't recommend doing it if you were bigger people. So one thing that everyone fails to mention about Hanoi is the amount of smog that was around. We couldn't see the sun for our entire stay. It was always hidden behind a thick blanket of dust or smoke or whatever it was. It was really quite strange. So just something to keep in mind if you're ever visiting Hanoi. But nonetheless, it was a unique experience to get a tour through a rickshaw. Something a bit touristy, but, you know, I guess you just roll with it.
Okay, so we've just left the Old Quarter and we're heading into the French Quarter now. We've just gone past the Opera House. It's pretty stunning around here.
Yeah, I can see why a lot of people rate Hanoi. It's got this beautiful old charm to it. It's combined with a mini, tiny measurement of chaos that Ho Chi Minh City did. People seem very friendly, they're very willing to help. They speak a lot better English up here as well, from our experience. So wow, on to the next place. Anyway, our first stop was the Women's Museum of Hanoi. It was really interesting learning about how women have shaped Vietnamese culture through the centuries and how they are revered and regarded. A really cool point about it was that in Vietnamese culture, it's very matrilineal, so everyone traces their ancestors back through their mother's side rather than using the father's side like we do in the West. It's cool learning about all these famous warrior women behind us here in Vietnam. Apparently Vietnam has a really strong history with warrior women, and these ladies behind us fought as guerrillas during occupations of French colonialism and right through to World War I. Basically, they were assembled in the villages and they'd fight using very basic techniques, and they'd cut down telephone poles, and they'd armed with knives, and they'd hunt and stuff. Very, very interesting. And this apron here was worn in protest back home in New Zealand. And I got a little bit of shivers reading that. You know, you don't really see things that are close to home when you're so far away from home, but yeah. So that was interesting, learning about all the different things that, you know, all the important roles that women have played in Vietnam's history over time. Right, on to our next stop. This formidable building right here is Hoa Lo Prison. It was built in the early 1860s by French colonialists. It was built to hold a capacity of only 800 people, but in the early 20th century, it was known to house up to more than 2,000 people. The prisoners were held in overcrowded, squalid conditions. They were subjected to mental and physical abuse, and by the time of the Vietnam War, the North Vietnamese used to hold American POWs who sarcastically referred to it as the Hanoi Hilton. We got an audio guided tour. It cost us about 17 New Zealand dollars for this tour. We highly recommend going to Hoa Lo Prison. It's an unforgettable experience. It was really interesting. It's a must-do if you're ever going to Hanoi. It's quite cool seeing the history of like everything that we've been doing so far, but this is one of the coolest things we've done. I think. The place is packed out, so I would suggest coming here really early because we are just walking through crowds and crowds of people.
So I've just gotten out of Hoa Lo Prison. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty interesting to see how they lived and even the American POWs as well. Definitely worthwhile going for a visit, but like Matt said, go early. It was very busy.
If you're into that sort of dark tourism stuff, that's a place you need to go. And now, off we go, back on the rickshaw. So after spending about 3 and a bit hours on this rickshaw, our driver dropped us off at probably the most Instagrammable spot in all of Hanoi. That's right, we ended up on Train Street. But there's something that you should probably know about Train Street. We'll explain. Just want to tell the people back home
What we did?
what just happened to us.
So they block off the train and they block it off so tourists can't go down. And we couldn't get in down the other end. And some guy on a rickshaw grabbed us, took us around the corner, snuck us in the back way into this spot here. And here we are enjoying a beer Saigon.
Oh yeah, give me some of that.
Currently standing here on the train street waiting for the train to come down Train Street. It's coming this way. Keep you posted. That was close.
That was really close. Woo!
Just watched the train go down the train street. This is how we got through. Oh, come on.
That was the right result, that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had to go through this little dodgy place. Little tunnel.
So after our visit of Train Street, it was time to head to Hanoi's other prominent street, Beer Street, the party capital of Hanoi's Old Quarter, which was conveniently located just down the road from our hotel. We are currently sitting in Hanoi's Beer Street, which is the prominent walking street that you can go around, get cheap beers for as cheap as 10,000 Vietnamese dong, which equates to about 67 New Zealand cents. We've got ourselves some beer Viet.
Yeah.
Now, you can get a total vibe of this place just by looking around. Not as busy as like Ho Chi Minh City, but it's got a nice, quiet, sort of laid back sort of vibe.
At night either. It was 38 today, during the day, and it was stinking hot at Train Street, but it's beautiful now.
Yeah. Nat just got herself some beef pho.
I'm gonna try
Here in Hanoi, we heard it was different from the ones in Ho Chi Minh, so we're going to see what Nat thinks of it.
Try it without the chilies to start with. Matt has just been given his dinner, so he has ordered puncha.
Yum.
Okay, thoughts? Flavors different from ours?
Yeah.
No, you've got another winner. Well done, Vietnam. Well done.
So we're currently walking around Hoan Kiem Lake, which is in the Hanoi,
Area?
somewhere in Hanoi.
It's the main lake in Hanoi.
It's the main lake in Hanoi, and there's like a bit of a legend around these golden turtles that could bring luck to the people or whatever. Anyway, we're just currently walking around, strolling around, finding something to do. And we come across like this beautiful park that you can walk around. They keep it pretty clean around here. And just enjoying the sights and the sounds. And
the heat.
the heat, yeah. So we went to this little temple. We are currently at Hoan Kiem Lake here in the middle of Hanoi. Well, actually, I don't know if it's the middle, but it looks like it was a temple, a Buddhist temple back in the day. Well, the golden turtle, which brought them like luck and prosperity. The sword, return of the sword lake, something. I don't know.
Research.
We'll do some research and we'll put it down the bottom of the screen. But anyway, this is what it looks like. Yeah, so as you can tell, there are a lot of legends and stories, which is why we're kind of confused at this point. But anyway, the story goes that Hoan Kiem's Lake legend
the story of the magical sword. Legend has it that in the 15th century, Vietnam had to struggle under the oppression and exploitation of the northern invaders, so basically the Chinese. Witnessing this predicament, the sea god lent a magical sword to King Li to fight the enemy and successfully chase away the foreign invaders. After that, the country entered an era of peace. One day he goes out into the lake and a giant turtle comes out and asks for the sword back to be returned to the sea god, which is where the Turtle Tower comes into play. The Turtle Tower was built during the French colonial period, but that's a totally different story. Anyway, years later, they found 2 giant turtles. They thought this was just a legend, turns out not really. And in fact, they believe that there is still a giant turtle believed to be about 700 years old, and it's still living in this lake. You can understand why we've got all this mixed information. We couldn't really grasp it with the language barriers, and that's why this is kind of a mess. The Turtle Tower and Hoan Kiem Lake is a relic of Hanoi, and I wish we'd given it more time for the historic and cultural purposes that it deserves.
Right now we've just come to the Temple of Literature, which was built in 1076. A more accurate name could be the Temple of Confucius. It was built in 1076 during the time of Emperor Li Dangdong, and I hope I'm saying that right. But it was basically a place of for scholars to go and pray for good fortune in their studies and a place to study as well. So anyway, it's been around for a long time, and it was fully operational from 1076 to 1779 when the French colonized Vietnam.
So all that learning can sure work up an appetite. So Nat and I that night decided to treat ourselves to the walking streets around the Old Quarter and find ourselves a good restaurant and eat some traditional Vietnamese food. And this place checked all the marks. Highly recommend it.
If you can try and make it to Hanoi, the Old Quarter especially on a weekend, to experience Beer Street probably at its best.
Hundreds of people. It's so busy.
Definitely try and do that. What we just saw today was nothing like yesterday. It was fairly quiet yesterday. Today was nuts.
No, we're all good, thank you. And it's crazy, it's crowded, vibrant, full of life.
So Friday, Saturday, Sunday must be crazy. So if you thought this video was tight, leave us a like. This ain't no bribe, please subscribe. And hey, what the hell? Ding that bell. And we'll catch you guys in the next one.